Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. I hope you're all doing well. And this is the show where we get under the hat of some of the most important topics in franchising. And this is a live show. Well, it's live if it's April 15th at around 5:15 in the UK, 12:15 in some bits of America for about 50 minutes. So if you are here live, then it's always fantastic to have your comments. Say hello, because this show is about you. It's about our community. And you are the producers. You're the directors of this show. And the direction our conversation goes is the direction you want it to go. So please pop in a comment and get involved in our conversation today. So what do we do? Each week on the show, we take a different topic and we have a lovely guest. And today is no exception to that. We have a fantastic guest and a great topic. So the topic today is franchise succession planning. And to discuss that, we have the lovely Kevin Juser. Kevin, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Welcome. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And perhaps by way of an introduction, Kevin, you could just sort of let our lovely community know a little bit about yourself and how you've had an involvement in franchising and a little bit of your story.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, my name's Kevin Juza. I'm the Tenacious Leader. I'm from sunny San Diego, California. And so I am still drinking coffee. Just so you know, it is coffee. In case I drink it, you know it. It's not 5 o'clock here yet. But I have my franchise experience started when I was with H&R Block. My mom and dad retired after 45 years, but when I was growing up, I was always in that world of franchising. My dad managed company organizations, but he was always brought in to support major franchise owners of H&R Block. Then when I became a district manager, I started helping franchise owners do their annual business plannings and all that kind of stuff, managing the relationship between the franchisor and franchisees. And then as I matured up, had my own money and had my own chance, I actually started my own franchise in San Diego called, I didn't create it. I bought into a franchise called Snap Fitness, which kind of like brought fitness convenient to your little strip centers of 2,000 square feet or so. So every member had their own key and they could work out whenever they want. So my wife and I managed those for about 7 years. Then she wanted to go back to work teaching. So I lost my best employee. So I didn't have a very good succession plan at that point. And so I did, went back into corporate world myself. And then the last 5 years, I've been consulting and coaching growing businesses and revisiting my relationship with franchises and small business owners and helping them build that bridge to handing the businesses over succession planning from one generation to the next. Because I really felt the need of this. I think they call it the silver wave coming, all these retirees coming who own these businesses, and how's that transition going to go into the next generation? And the next generation maybe aren't prepared for it, or maybe the relationship between the parents and the kids aren't really ready for that kind of tough conversations or open conversations that need to happen. So that's when I kind of started finding my niche to build those bridges and make those relationships, get better.
Fantastic. You accidentally promoted our wonderful partners at the bridge there as well, Kevin. Thanks for doing my job for me there.
I try, man. It's a teamwork.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what franchising is absolutely about. Well, it's really interesting to hear your story and, how it all began for you and, and particularly your involvement in franchising. I guess that practical experience and particularly as you alluded to there, that you perhaps didn't have a succession plan. And when things changed, it was quite a dramatic and quite a sudden thing. And then you suddenly had to sort of make some snap decisions. Pardon the pun there as well, but
Right.
it's important to. I mean, let's get into this now. When succession planning. Where should this happen in the conversation? Should this be right at the beginning? When that franchisor is having that conversation very early on. Should you always be talking about what's going to happen at the end?
I know almost every franchise group, they tell you to really sit down and let's talk about your exit strategy in like the first or second day of their training. And I always scratch my head going, dude, I just got to make sure I'm successful. If I don't have a business, I can't exit. I can't plan it to move it on. I need to be successful at it. My goal is to be successful. So let's make sure that's there. So let's figure out where we want to go. I know in America they talk a lot about after 7 years you should move on. And I really have an issue with that in the sense that when you have a family owned business that's successful, your community relies on you. Your customers rely on you. And if you move, then that just loses their connection to the brand, to the service, to everything else. And if you think about your business, you're making $500,000, $1 million, whatever your size, your $200,000. You have a business, you have a job that's working. So why won't you find a way to keep it in the family so that next generation can live off that business and keep going? They all go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. Keeping it within the family. I mean, some people already have a plan to perhaps pass that down a generation. Or sometimes people might have a plan to, sell that on. But if you can, I mean, we've had conversations before about keeping things within a community. Because if you grow a franchise business to a point where you could perhaps sell it to private equity, you're losing so many things from a local community, and franchising is about building these little hubs of local communities, and if it's suddenly owned by something that's out of that community, everything is taken out of that community, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, they franchise their idea for multiple reasons, but the top two for me is one, they want to grow fast, and then grow fast with somebody else's capital, right? So be able to expand their brand and land and expand. And the third thing is they don't want to have management to oversee that location. They want to have that owner, have that pride of ownership, so then they don't have to manage it. And so when you think about that when a private equity comes in, they're saying, thanks for doing all the hard work. Now you have an established business, you have established customers, everything's there. And statistically, it could be successful as long as I hire a manager and put it in there. But then you just broke all those relationships that just happened that you maybe done for 5, 10 years to build up this brand. And so private equity, they have their place, but when you take away businesses and they take all the capital, the profit, the future success, it's now not part of the community no more or that family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to consider that, when you're thinking about beginning your journey in franchising, you've got to consider how that journey is going to go, and what steps you're going to take to make sure it's a successful one and that you can pass on something that's healthy. It's really, really important, and that needs to come in pretty early on, doesn't it?
It does, in the sense of people get maybe in their 40s or 50s, that's when they started into the franchise business. They had their corporate job, they had their first wave at their career, they made a good bucket of money, and they want to be their own owner. So they open a franchise, they found a niche, they found a business they want to get into. They don't know what their kids are going to be like. They don't know if they're going to have kids. They don't know what kind of employees they're going to have. But the idea could be, I want to, have this till I'm 55, sell it, and that's my retirement. That's most people's probably strategy. But when they start getting their family, or then find a young employee comes in and they've been with them for a long time, that's where you sense back going, you know what? They can buy those franchises from you in a meaningful way that doesn't, they lose capital. They don't have the capital per se to buy an established business. But being an owner, you can then structure that transfer of ownership in a different way that actually saves you money and makes it more affordable for them to keep the brand, that your legacy of that business to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, I can agree with that more. We've got a comment. We've got a comment here from Simon. He's on YouTube to say that we are live on YouTube. Um, just to say, if you have just joined us, and hopefully we are now live on LinkedIn. There was a slight technical fault. So if you are now watching us on LinkedIn, please do say hello and pop a comment in there. But let's put Simon's comment up anyway. Good to always have you with us, Simon. Thanks for joining us there from YouTube, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts on succession planning as we get into this conversation today. Kevin, do you think that succession planning should vary from business to business? You know, if you've got one type of franchise, do you think that the succession planning is different to another type of franchise operation?
There are different types of businesses that are franchises that are, is it a food kind of franchise which has multiple hands in the business running the breakfast roll, the lunch, the dinner, and they have different people in the organization. It's a total different type of a job versus somebody that owns more of a service franchise, like a tax service or a financial service or some sort of a blinds, 3-day blinds franchise, whatever. They have to have different, it's function that the owners typically are the customer that live with the relationship with the customer, where maybe food, it's more, just good service and keep it. They don't really have as much of a connection with each customer, where the other one is a more higher relationship. So there's different strategies for different types of businesses on that succession planning. But the idea of where the rubber hits the road is truly communicating and making sure there's alignment of, I want this job, I want this business, or if you don't, how do I find somebody that then can have the same passion and belief in the business as I do, to then carry it on to the next, decade.
Absolutely. Kevin, we are going to take a break now because it appears we may not be live on LinkedIn. So what we're going to do, if you are with us on YouTube, give us a moment or two and we will be back after this break. And we will begin things again, hopefully on LinkedIn in a few moments. So looking forward